Well, happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, July 26th, the 207th day of the year. There are 158 days left in 2022. Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom, brought to you by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Children's books. What does it take to be a successful children's book author? You need to be a good writer, of course, but is there a particular mindset that is needed to put yourself in the mind of a 6, 7, 8-year-old? How do you attain that mindset? Well, we'll find out today when we go inside the mind of today's G-List guest. Our G-List guest is Melanie J. Vogel, children's book author, and she describes herself as an expert in the art of daydreaming and counting clouds. I used to be an expert at that. She lives in a small town of Cumberland, Maryland, and is a mama to one grown daughter. She's happily married. She's a poodle lover, master flower gardener, and a casual unicorn spotter. We got to find out about that. She has 6 published children's picture books, 1 children's chapter book, and another picture book releasing in August, which may have already been released. We'll find out. She is an alumni of Allegheny College of Maryland and West Virginia University. She sounds like fun, so we look forward to the conversation. This edition of Tuesday with Thom is sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Best Girl has been providing customized solutions to executive issues for 34 years. Let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl creates the solution that fits your needs. So we're going to go right away to our roundtable regulars and introduce Barbara Wallace-Edwards and Michael Walker. Good morning, Michael Walker, Barbara Wallace-Edwards. Maybe I did that backwards, but
that's right. All right. Good morning.
Good morning, Thom.
Yeah, how are we doing?
Doing well. Hope you are too.
Doing pretty good, man. I can't complain. I was in Auburn all last week and preparing for our show, and which I'll talk about a little bit towards the end. So, Barbara, what's happening with you? What you got going? I know you got something going somewhere.
Believe it or not, it's kind of a quiet week for me. I really don't have a lot going on other than going to the gym and catching up on some news. I was actually watching the news a little bit yesterday, and I'm thinking I read that there's going to be a debate between over in Georgia between Michael's favorite candidate, Herschel Walker, and Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock in October. And I hope it's going to be televised nationally, because if not, I'm going to make a trip over to Georgia just so I can watch that debate. It's going to be hilarious, I think.
We'll see. I think there are a lot of people looking forward to that. And,
yes.
I don't know. I kind of feel bad for my guy, but you know, it's kind of the way it goes when you put yourself in that position.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hear that he may have some professionals working with him now, preparing him for that October event. So they got a job on their hands. That's all I can say.
Well, that's not the only thing they're trying to prepare him for, but I'll leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
Michael, you know something else you don't know?
You don't want to share that with us?
No, I'm just saying it's not just a debate they're concerned about. It's the overall campaign.
Okay.
And, you know, all the missteps and things. There's some angst and concern from people in the Republican Party about, you know, his candidacy and stuff. So it's just total concern. So
concern across the board.
Across the board.
Michael, have you heard anything? I mean, are they now thinking that they should have not pushed him to run for that office? What is the talk among the Republicans?
Well, I will say this. It was one person that was pushing him to run for office.
I see.
Let's just be clear about that.
Okay.
And I think those that supported the idea because of his notoriety and thinking, okay, well, we have somebody with name ID, so we can get behind them. So they looked at all the wrong things in supporting him rather than looking at other things and then pushing that out. Because, you can gain name ID by the way you campaign and the way you handle yourself.
Yes.
There's been many of political races that have been successful with people that were little known, but based on how they implemented and executed and communicated, they were able to gain name ID.
Absolutely.
So, because the Reverend Warnock is a black man, did they feel they need to find a black man to run against him?
Well, that was part of the strategy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
With the population in Georgia, especially the Atlanta area, being majority black, I'm sure that was one of the factors they looked at.
Yeah, it's similar to, remember when former President Obama ran for office and everybody just assumed that he was going to pick Hillary Clinton as his running mate. And then the Republicans tried to, one up him. And then they went and got Sarah Palin to be VP. And Obama pulled a switcheroo and got Joe Biden.
Right.
And so they were stuck with Sarah Palin. And they regretted that. So
absolutely,
that's what this is reminiscent of.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys, I saw a little bit of the hearing the other night. I don't know what night that was.
Thursday night.
And they kept talking about Coach Tuberville. Well, they could at least pronounce his name correctly.
Yes. They even had him. I don't know if you saw the clip, but they actually showed him where they were talking to him in the news. I think we're talking to him for a while back, and they still saying his name wrong after that. So I was like, man, they just can't get it right.
Yeah.
Well, I think he would have preferred that they not call his name at all, because it was all about January 6th and everything that was going on, and Trump was trying to call him for whatever reason. And so it was funny. I don't know. It's always interesting to go behind the scenes and watch something as it unfolds or as it unfolded. And boy, that was a mess.
It was.
There's some details. It was sad, but it was a mess.
The details that are coming out now are just astounding. I'm just amazed at some of the inactions that were not taken to control that crowd and get things under control much sooner. Because it could have been, it was already ugly, but it could have been much worse had some other people not stepped in and taken some action. So I hope it has opened some people's eyes and they don't see the former president in the same light as they possibly had before. It's interesting.
Well,
we'll see.
He is causing some consternation because he is certainly exploring running again and announcing. And the Republicans do not want him to make an announcement prior to the midterms that he's going to run. But he's thinking about doing that anyway because, he wants all eyes on him. But I really think that his strategy is that he'd like to get into it, and based on some of the polling numbers of the people that would support him, I saw a poll that 54% of young Republicans would support Trump and want him to run again. I think his strategy is that if he could get the nomination and run for president, that would put all this investigation on hold. And if he could win, then, the U.S. has never gone after a sitting president.
Right.
And so I think that's really what he wants to do, is to do that, to try to stop this locomotive coming down the track. So we'll see what happens.
It's the locomotive is steaming.
Yes, it is.
That may be the only way he avoids.
Well, I tell you this, even though the Department of Justice, they're dragging their feet on charging him, but what he needs to watch out for is Georgia.
Yes.
The lady in Georgia. That's
Fonnie
right.
Willis. Fonnie Willis is after him.
Mm-hmm.
And that could bring more charges quicker than anything else.
Well, I and I'm gonna just one thing you said, and I'll probably take a little bit of disagreement with, is they keep saying that people are after him. He committed crimes,
Right.
and so when you commit crimes, people have a right to say no. You don't
Right.
get to do that.
Right.
If I did it, I'd already be in jail.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't have to have a big hearing.
Absolutely.
We're gonna put you in jail first, Tom.
Right.
Then we'll have a hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey,
And whatever happened to the case in New York? Wasn't he in hot water in New York as well?
Yes, he was. I think that's kind of taken a back seat, but the last I heard, it was still moving forward too.
Okay.
and because there's so much politics in it. Back to what Michael said about the lady in Georgia. I'm sorry, I don't know her name.
Fonnie Willis.
Yes.
It's almost like they're kind of stepping back and letting her
Take the lead.
Yeah, because they feel like she'll do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe he can take Matt Gaetz with him. Okay.
And a couple more people.
Let me so I just asked both of you, did you guys see the news about Bo Jackson?
I
I did. Yes. Good for Bo.
Yes.
I think that was quite admirable. And
What is it, Mike? What did he do? Tell us.
well, actually, what Bo did, he picked up all the funeral expenses for the Uvalde victims.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, Governor Greg Abbott said that when they put out a call for people to support the community, Bo gave him a call and stepped up and paid, I think, $170,000 to cover all funeral expenses for the victims of Uvalde.
I think there was another donor along with Bo, and he said that person didn't want to be recognized. They want to remain, their name not in the news. So it was Bo and someone else, but Bo was definitely the front person and stepped up and paid those expenses. And that's a wonderful thing.
Yes, it is. Good for Bo.
Mm-hmm.
I jokingly to some of my Georgia friends, I said, well, unlike Herschel, Bo knows which lane to stay in.
Bo's not running for anything.
No.
On that note, before we move on, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to all of our listeners and viewers last week that offered congratulatory messages to me for my appointment to the State Georgia Board of Public Health. I certainly appreciate your congratulations that you sent to me, and I want to recognize that. Thank you very much. It warmed my heart. I also have to say a special thank you to the Auburn University College of Liberal Arts and to 4 in particular young ladies, Kelly, Carrie, Allison, and Melissa. On Friday, I received a box at home, and I opened it up, and it was from the College of Liberal Arts, and this was what was in it. Let me turn it around so you guys can see it. It said War Eagle, and it's a roll of toilet tissue wrapped in orange paper. And the card said, Michael, congratulations on your recent appointment to the State of Georgia Board of Public Health, War Eagle. And it further said, when Auburn wins, we roll Toomer's Corner. Here's to your big win. So, War Eagle. Right. And thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Congratulations again, Michael. That's wonderful.
Yeah, congratulations, man. Yes. And I know those ladies, so that's pretty cool.
Yes.
When we do that.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
Well, if we're going to move into other things, there's something that I want to mention to a lot of our viewers and listeners. The scammers, as we know, they don't ever take a day off of work, but they have raised their level. And especially with Medicare season coming up, there's some things that a lot of our seniors need to be on the lookout for, and there are 4 things that they really need to do, which is guard your personal protection. You need to watch out for free offers and check your benefits and report suspected fraud. And what I mean, one example of the free offers, one person received a phone call from a scammer pretending to be from AARP, who claimed they were referred by Medicare, and that their doctor asked them to call this person to ask her if she wanted a Medicare covered DNA swab test for free to rule out cancer, which runs in her family.
Oh.
And, a senior not thinking, and in particular, if they've had that, they would not be thinking that this is a scammer. And what they're trying to do is get your Medicare number, your Social Security number, and make fraudulent claims. Mm. And so they're cautioning everyone that if you receive any type of emails that maybe look authentic, if you just click on that email's name, it will show you a fraudulent type email.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
That was what I was going to say. If you got to go that extra step and click on it.
Yes.
But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, if you kind of hover over the email where it comes from, it will show you the email, and then you can see that it's not the right one. And they're not just doing that to seniors. I myself was attacked a couple weeks ago from some people in India that were trying to pose as Norton Security. The Norton Security company that does VPN to protect your internet and all that type of stuff. And they sent me one, and it just so happened that I had Norton last year, and I terminated my agreement with it because I wasn't satisfied with the service. So they sent me an email saying, your renewal was successful for $500. So the funny thing, so I contacted, I'm like, oh no, wait a minute, this is not happening. And it's ironic because I did have a subscription with another group that automatically renewed, and I didn't want that renewed. So I'm like, oh no, this is not happening again. So I got into it and started checking it out. And they all have Indian accents from Pakistan, right? So it make it sound like, because everything is always funneled out that way. But as we went through, I figured out what they were doing, and they were trying to gain access to my computer and my bank account. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to try to say, well, we'll refund your money. But what they were really trying to do was see how much money was in my bank account, and then try and trick it and move money from one account to the account they supposedly taken it from. Okay. And then say to me, it's more than what we gave you. That's not your money. You got to send us back the rest of that money and stuff. And then they started talking about red flag laws, and the other was money laundering. Do you know about money laundering? You're going to get accused. Well, see, I'm in that business. I take courses on it all the time. So I knew exactly. So I kept them on the phone and drove to the bank so that I could report them and what have you. And I just played along with them and everything.
It's a shame that the links they go through to do this type of thing. I got
That's how they make money.
Scam email last week from one of my former neighbors. That was the name that was from, said it was from. And they were saying, hey, I know you use Amazon quite a bit and I need your help. Can you help me out? And I responded back, sure. And of course I knew it had to be a scam, but I was wanting to see where they were going to take this. They said, I have a niece that's lives in another state, and she needs some money sent to her right away, and I don't have access to my money right now, but I'll have access in 48 hours. Can you loan me $1,000 by ordering this Amazon card and sending it to this address? And I'm thinking, these people, well, the person they said they came from died last year, so I knew that, but they didn't. But I'm thinking they're crazy. They just will go through any lengths to try anything to get money from innocent people.
I just say immediately, okay, well, let me tell you now, I'm getting ready to hang up. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time. So if you're going to continue to talk, I'm going to hang up. Okay, bye. So I got one more thing for you guys. They had the SEC coaches, what was it, Media Day or whatever last week. Yes. And since we're all Auburn people, I saw that Coach Harsin said the word is watch. They said, well, how do you think you guys going to do? He said, watch.
Watch, yeah.
So I guess we'll watch.
We're going to be watching. Everybody's going to be watching closely.
But Michael was telling me that they seem to have a favorable schedule. And
the first 5 games are at home, right, Michael?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe they can come out of the gate early and take care of those first 5, and then
then it gets ugly from there.
Well, we could, but maybe we could split them.
Maybe so. But in Penn State, one of the opening games, one of those
number
games?
3 on the schedule.
Yeah. So that one of those games is Penn State. So even though we're playing at home, it's going to be interesting to see how that one turns out.
And I just we used to have a home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that meant you can go as far back as when I played. Over those 3 years, we never lost a home game.
Right.
And that was part of your thing, was that you protected your home.
Right.
Against people coming in. So now, much like LSU used to do. If you went to LSU and played at night, you weren't going to win.
Right.
It's over.
They kind of under the lights at LSU.
It's over. Especially at night. You may get them during the daytime, but at night you don't have a shot.
Right.
Yeah. And Georgia used to be pretty tough at home.
Yes.
I mean, we couldn't. We had this thing about if you beat them, you got to clip some of those hedges.
Right.
That became precarious. So, anyway, go ahead.
Thom, I will say that Auburn still has a reputation of being the toughest place to play. That was that came out in media days.
Good.
Even from Nick Saban, Kirby Smart talked about it, and there was
one of the Georgia players.
And a lot of players. And there was an article written saying that it is the toughest place to play. And it's funny, the quarterback from Georgia, Stetson Bennett, that the Georgia fans didn't like, that won the national championship, he was asked about playing at Jordan-Hare, and he said, I love to go there and play. He said, you look straight up and it's just this whole crowd on you. He said, I looked in the stands and there was Cam Newton and Coach Bruce Pearl with the shirt off and stuff and all this. He said, it's great to go there and play. So, it's still a big challenge, and they say it's the loudest place to play. So we still have that rep. I know it dipped a little bit under the former coach that you have an affinity for, Thom, but hopefully we can build that back up.
Yeah, that was one of the players, Georgia players, who was asked in the media days last week, what is the toughest places to play road trip? And he said, Jordan-Hare, he said, that's definitely the most toughest place to play away game. So Auburn still has some respect in that regard. So
I think Auburn has a lot of respect. I think we've under Gus and last year, we lost games we shouldn't have lost.
Right.
And when you lose to teams you shouldn't lose to, they lose some of that respect for you.
That's true.
But, we'll have to regain that status and that stature by whipping some people.
So true.
So we'll see. But I think that you can get it back. I do think that it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing to have home field and to try to you can ride that.
That's true.
And so we'll see. I think that Coach Harsin had, and I don't know Coach Harsin. I don't have anything against him. I think it's different in the SEC than it is where he came from. Mm-hmm. And the game and Antley will get all twisted up over this, but the game that I think that we just gave away was South Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
speaking of Antley, Thom, I have a message for both you and Michael from Antley. He sent me a message and posted on Facebook that he had some new garnet and black South Carolina Gamecock shoes. He would have bought some Auburn shoes too, but he couldn't find any orange or blue ones. So he wanted to make sure that you guys knew that he had some new South Carolina shoes, and he's going to be wearing them into the season. And they actually come to Auburn, I think, this
Oh,
year,
do
right,
they?
Michael? So
I don't
are we
know.
playing them? Well, no, we played them there last year, but I don't know. I'm not even sure they're on the schedule this
Now
year.
I know we played in South Carolina last
Right,
year because
right.
that was
Well.
the giveaway game.
Yes.
Okay, anything else from
That's it
either
for
one
me.
of you?
Bring on Melanie.
Okay, well, let's bring on Sean first and let Sean tell. Sean's got a minute here. Come on, Sean.
Good morning. My name is Sean Jones, and this is Got a Minute. Hello to everyone joining in with us this morning. I am coming to you live and in color from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm sure you all are wondering what I'm doing here, right? Right. Well, not only am I here on a family vacation, I'm also here to tell you that on July 26th, 1775, the U.S. postal system was established by the Second Continental Congress with Benjamin Franklin as its very first postmaster general. Today, the U.S. has over 40,000 post offices, and the Postal Service delivers more than 200 billion pieces of mail each year to over 144 million homes and businesses. The Postal Service is the nation's largest civilian employer with roughly 500,000 career workers. The Postal Service is a not-for-profit, self-supporting agency that covers the majority of its expenses through postage. The Postal Service gets the mail delivered, rain or sunshine, using everything from planes to mules. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Sean Jones, and this has Got a Minute.
I tell you one other thing the Postal Service as we've been working on this show, and we talked a little bit about this play we're doing called Alabama Boys, and I'll speak a little bit about it at the end. Alabama has an all-water mail route. The guy delivers the mail by boat, and he pulls the mailboxes are out on the water, on the lake or whatever, on the shore, and he pulls up there in the boat and shoves the mail in there, and he goes to the next one.
Where is this in Alabama?
This is in. I knew you were going to ask me. I don't know. I have to look it up, but
Okay.
it's very interesting. I wanted to say I don't know. I've got it,
Okay.
but I don't know. But
That's
it's interesting. It's
Yes.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes,
So
it is.
I guess they don't have to worry about people coming by stealing the mail then.
That would be tough.
Yeah, it would. Yes, it would. Well, let's get to our G list. So Hollywood's got the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G list. And our G list guest today is Melanie Vogel, a children's book author who has penned such titles as Billy Beakhorn and the Booger Man, Elsewhereville, Nerf Nerd. She is happily married. She's a poodle lover, a master flower gardener, and a casual unicorn spotter. She's published 6 children's picture books, 1 children's chapter book, and another picture book. She is an alumni of Allegheny College of Maryland and West Virginia. And as I said earlier, she sounds like fun. So let's get Melanie J. Vogel on here and welcome.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm great.
Okay. Well, so I'm just going to start off and just ask you, where do you get your ideas from?
Well, they just come from being a curious person, and I try to get into, people say, well, how do you get into the mindset of a child? And I get into that by always being curious and wondering about things, and I'm not going to lie. Some things that happened in my life, I kind of take that, and I think everybody does,
I
even
agree.
in fiction.
Yeah, I think most writers borrow from real life.
Yep.
So, well, that was going to be where the ideas come from. But tell us about Billy Beakhorn and the Booger Man. This is a Booger Man like Booger Boogers, right?
Oh yeah. Well, here's my book. Uh, when when
Can
I
you
was
hold
a
it up? So hold it up
sure.
just for a second so everybody can see it. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
When I was a kid, my grandmother would always say, "Watch out for the." She didn't say boogeyman. She said booger man. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, not only is it somebody scary, but it's somebody like dripping and oozing with snot. So I was,
Okay.
yeah, I was telling my publisher, Uncle Dave's books. Uncle Dave, he's not really my uncle, but that's what he goes by, Uncle Dave's books. And I was telling him about that, and he said that sounds like a book in there. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's where it came from. It's a story about Billy Beakhorn. He wipes his nose on his sleeve, and nothing good can come from that.
Uh, I'm surprised that his mama didn't make him stop. What got you started?
Well, I've always enjoyed like writing little silly poems, and I like the flow of words and the way that everything sounded, and so I've always kind of written a little bit of poetry here and there. But I guess it was um, Christmas Day of 2005. I just got an idea. I thought, what if Santa Claus has all these helpers throughout the world legitimately helping him to make Christmas and the gifts that he gives real? And how would you go about telling that story? And so that got me researching about St. Nicholas, and it took me all the way back to like 300 AD, and I started writing a book called The Wards of St. Nicholas. And it was a novel, like a young adult novel. And it took me about 2006 till 2008 to write it. And then during that time, being a multitasker, I started writing some children's books in there too. Because once your mind starts going one place, it often will just keep going. And I had some little characters come to life, and that's when I started working on this book, Nerf Nerd. And I never did get uh, the novel about Saint Nicholas published, but since then I just kind of took off with um, with the children's books, and I just haven't stopped. I love writing for children.
Good deal. Good deal. Let me just ask you one thing, and then Michael. So, do you ever like if you write a book for adults, you generally will hear from adults, blah blah. This made a difference in my life, or whatever. Do you hear from children?
Well, I mainly when I've gone to signings, of course, the last 2 years I really hadn't done anything until this spring.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started going to signings, and I had some kids. I've had quite a few kids run up to the table and go, "Hey, I got Billy! Yay, Billy Beakhorn!" This is. I'm like, "Oh, great! This is the one that I'm known for." But
Okay.
one that did touch my heart. I was at a children's book festival in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and a little girl ran up to the table, and she said, "I've got my too many poodles," and this is probably a true story about myself. And she ran up to the table and she said, oh, she said, my teacher read this to us, and this is the book that I want. And
Oh,
it really
good.
touched my heart because it was out of like she got to pick one book out of the whole festival, and she saw it and she said, oh, that's the one I want.
Oh,
And
good.
so that uh I don't think any no child has ever come up to me and said, boy, that really changed my life. But just
Yeah.
knowing that they were reading,
Yeah.
Yes.
that
Exactly.
changes their life.
That's great. That's great. So, who's got a question?
I have one that I would like to ask, and of course I have many, but one that I want to know. Your bio says that you're a casual unicorn spotter. Tell us about that. Have you ever spotted any unicorns, and if so, where? How do you do that?
Well, the reason that I'm a casual unicorn spotter and not a professional unicorn spotter is because I have not spotted any unicorns yet.
Okay.
So,
What does that entail, Melanie? Tell us how that even works.
well, sometimes if you just let your mind go and try to get in a different frame of mind, just like when you're counting clouds and you see the clouds take forms
Hmm.
that you might normally see. Sometimes I hope to, when I am walking out in the woods, I hope to see a unicorn. And I can't say I really haven't seen one, but
Hmm.
I haven't got any photographic evidence.
Okay.
Okay. Michael?
Melanie, I want to say thank you for joining us and congratulations on the awards that you've won.
Thank
I
you.
would like to ask you about a couple of books here. Elsewhereville, tell me about that. And the other one, You Can't Ride a Cat. How did you come up with that? Because I remember as a child, we had a book called The Cat in the Hat. And so I was wondering if that corresponds or have any relevance to You Can't Ride a Cat.
Okay. Well, my newest book, "You Can't Ride a Cat," is coming out in August, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But Elsewhereville, that is my chapter book, and a chapter book is a little bit different than a picture book, as it is still for children, but instead of more pictures, it has less pictures, and it has obviously chapters, kind of like a novel, but it's a lot shorter and it's for children. But Elsewhereville is a story about a little girl who is getting bullied, and she just doesn't, for herself, she just doesn't see any merit in being herself. And she just wants to fit in with everybody else and just be like everybody else. And she's very upset. And so she's on the playground crying, and it's a portal fantasy because she ends up in Elsewhereville, where the only thing the same about everybody is that they're all different. And in Elsewhereville, she discovers that she can be herself, and she discovers that the people there are totally fine with being who they are. And it's just a very inclusive book. And it touches on big concepts like bullying, self image. It's and like is said in the book, like she just wants to fit in, but she finds out that fitting out is much more fun.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that's what Elsewhereville is. It's actually kind of a very silly story, fantasy story, fun nonsense story, but it packs a lot of the self-image concepts into it. And then the can't you can't ride a cat. I don't have a picture of it yet. I did send one of the producers a picture, but I don't know if they got it. But you can't ride a cat. It doesn't really have too much of a nod at Dr. Seuss, but the little boy, it's like the introduction to the uh, the unreliable narrator and for kids. And the the boy is kind of trying to tell his Saint Bernard and his cat all the places that he's ridden, and he's kind of hinting that it would be a great idea to ride the cat. And because he's done all these uh, ridden all these other places, and the more he tells, the taller the tales get, and till finally you really don't know what's true and what's fantasy. So
Yeah.
it's just a fun book. It's a rhyming book, so I guess it does have a little bit of a nod. A lot of my books are rhymey, and it has a little nod to Dr. Seuss.
Okay. I'll just comment on the Cat in the Hat for you guys. And I don't know if she's on here or not, but annually, except for maybe the last 2 years with the pandemic, annually, Joyce, my wife, goes to the library, dresses up like the Cat in the Hat, with the hat and the whiskers and all that, and she reads for the kids, and the kids come, the parents bring the little kids, and they're just sitting there mesmerized, and it's just fun. And I've got photos of it, but it's
Right.
just fun to watch her do it and to watch the kids enjoy it so much.
That's great.
Yep.
So where do we get your books?
They are many places. Of course, all of my books are on Amazon. You can get them. There they are. Oh, good. There's You Can't Ride a Cat coming soon. There it is.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you can get them. Some of the books are on Walmart.com, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. Um, they can be special ordered. Some of the books you can go into your local bookstore, and some of them are on Ingram, and your bookstore can order those. And you can also get them from me. You could contact me on my site, melaniejvogel.com.
Okay. MelanieJVogel.com.
Yep.
You guys got that. Michael, Barbara, other
Yes.
questions?
I have another question for you, and I kind of want to get your perspective on the future of books for children. And reason why I say that, now as adults, we have all real busy lives, and we can have what you call the audio book and stuff you can listen to in your car where you're going places, and all these types of tools. Do you see children books going that way, or are you going to try and keep it back into, as I might say, the good old days when we were kids, where we would actually read a book physically rather than getting into technology from a book perspective?
I think since 2011, a lot of things are changing in the book world. Of course, you've got a lot of self-published books, and two of my books and my next one, You Can't Ride a Cat, is self-published. And you've got independent and traditional book publishers, and a lot of the things are going into audiobooks, and there's a lot of people that are just with YouTube and TikTok. A lot of the authors are trying to break into that to get their audience and build their audience. And then, of course, you've got like e-readers, and so really, I think that there's a market there for everything, because I still think that there is a market for like a tangible book to hold. Um, but I also think that there's definitely a market for kids who just want to, maybe a little older or even younger ones, just that kind of want to flip through the phone and with an ebook that way. So I think there's room there for kind of everything. And I don't think that we've yet, in the past 10 years, I don't think we've come to a ultimate decision that yes, books are going away and we're all going to be replaced with e-readers. And I don't think we've come to that decision. I think there's room for all of them.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. I saw you mentioning that you were going to do TikTok, and you said, I know I'm old. So are you going to start to do TikTok with your children books?
I'm gonna try. I, I'm I'm like a little behind. There's a lot of like great children's authors. They're doing some amazing things with TikTok and Instagram, and I'm just a little bit behind the curve on that. So, I
Well, I think regardless of what form you choose, reading is always a good thing. And
yes,
I just can remember growing up how my mom started me reading, and I can just tell. I still like to hold a book in my hand,
Mhm.
especially if you're on vacation, because it seems like if you go on vacation, that's what you want to do. You
Right.
got time. You never have time to just sit and read a book for 2 or 3 hours. And
Right.
so I can tell you that, and books can take you away. They can take you on adventures. And I remember a series called The Rover Boys when I was growing up. Remember? The Rover Boys were Tom, Dick, and Sam, three brothers. And boy, they just had adventures all the time. And the Rover Boys on Treasure Island, the Rover Boys on the river, the Rover Boys out west, the Rover Boys in Europe. And I decided I was going to be a Rover Boy. And I've had quite a few adventures. So mimicking myself after the Rover Boy. So I think reading is a great thing.
Yes.
and reading changed your life. It sounds like.
It did. It
Yeah.
did. And I've of course I've written 3, 4 books, 4 books I think, and I got one more I want to do, and it's fiction. And I've written, of course, I wrote a memoir, and I've written. I like fiction. I like making up stories.
Yep.
It's just fun to do. So, other comments? Uh,
I
Mel,
do have another question or a comment too. I want to congratulate Melanie on winning the 2022 Firebird Book Award for Esquareville. Won two categories. Tell us about that. What categories, and then tell us about what age groups you write for. Do you focus on one particular age group, or is it various with your different books?
Okay. Well, the Firebird Book Award, Elsewhereville won in two categories. It won for chapter book for children. And of course, we talked about the chapter books, they're more set up kind of like a novel for a small child. And this one is for 7 to 12-year-olds. So it's second to sixth grade, depending on the reading level. This is 3.9 grade level. So it's kind of and the protagonist of the story is in fifth grade. So children do like to often read up. They don't really necessarily want to read in third grade. You don't really want to read about a kindergartner, but you do maybe want to read about a fifth grader. So you always want to write your stories for just a little bit older than the child that you're focusing on.
Right.
So Elsewhereville won in chapter books and also one in coming of age.
Okay.
And so it is a story about coming of age because, like I said, in the story, Myrtle Hitchenbacher, the protagonist, she learns that it's okay to be yourself and you don't always have to fit in. In fact, it's more fun to fit out. So this is a little bit older book for 7 to 12-year-olds, and then I guess Nerf Nerd, my first children's book. This is a little more of a story book, more so than a picture book, because it has a lot of story to it, and a lot of the pictures now, the picture books are. They're written with like a couple words on each page, and this is more like the old time storybook. And so um, that's the Nerf Nerd. That's a little bit older for like a 6 to a 10-year-old. And then the rest of my stories, the Too Many Poodles, Billy Beakhorn, Lost in La La Land, a one of a kind hot air balloon adventure, and Green Pickle Juice. they are all basically for like 4 to 8 year olds, and some of them are like some of them have a little more vocabulary that it might be easier for like an adult to read with a child. And some of my greatest customers that I have usually at book signings are like grandmothers and grandfathers because
Okay.
they want to read the book with the child.
Right.
So, and that's why I don't think that the market for books is really going away anytime soon for tangible books because uh, adults want that one-on-one time with the child, and as much as adults do, children want that just as much, if not more, that one-on-one time with a grandparent or parent. So I don't think books are going away, especially ones that are read in the family.
That's great.
How do you? I always find that when you choose a character, you name that character, that name fits that character somehow or another in your brain. Like, okay, this fits. Do your character names fit your characters?
I think so. Yeah, I had well, when I was little, Nerf Nerd is actually about a sock puppet that a lady when I was a kid, a lady in our church gifted me a puppet, and for whatever reason, I named it Nerf Nerd, and I think. Like I said, I always like the way that words flow, and I kind of like the Nerf Nerd, and of course that's what I named it. And then after I named it, I thought, oh, I hope Nerf doesn't come after me.
Yeah.
but but I just liked it's all one word, Nerf Nerd, and I just kind of like that the ner, that
Right.
sound. And then pretty much every character, some of the characters in my books, like the green pickle juice. This is another book with Uncle Dave's books, and we wrote this for Pickleburg. Pittsburgh every year has a pickle festival, believe it or not, and we wrote this for the 2020 Pickleburg. But of course, in 2020, nothing happened, so uh, this book just kind of is out there now. But that's okay. It's a cute book. It's actually the characters in the book are basically myself and the Uncle Dave character. That's us as children.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
And
Uh,
then the Myrtle Hitchbacher from the book, I just kind of have always kind of liked that name. I uh, kind of in my head, I always thought like of myself, Myrtle Hitchbacher, and that was kind of like my name that I came up for myself even as a kid. Like it just seemed like a goofy kind of name, like Myrtle Hitchbacher.
Fun name.
Yeah, a fun name.
Melanie, I'd like to ask you about working with illustrators, the people that do your drawings and stuff. How do you go about selecting an illustrator or designer or format? What's that process like?
Okay, well, I have a couple since I've been like self-publishing my some of my books. I have actually I have a lot of talented friends who I kind of had an idea for a book, and then when I had the idea for this book, I also kind of matched up a person that I thought would be a great illustrator for that book.
hmm.
And so actually my first book it was through Headline Kids out of Terra Alta, West Virginia, and they didn't have any illustrators on staff. And I said, "Wait, I have a neighbor," and they were kind of like on the border about the you know publishing. And when they saw John Alderton's uh, illustrations, they said, "Yes, we want this book." And he was my neighbor. And then I kind of got in with Uncle Dave's books. Dave also worked with Headline Kids, and then Dave he illustrated the Billy Beacorn and the Booger Man and Lost in La La Land, and then he digitally illustrated the Green Pickle Juice. So he's also a independent publisher slash illustrator. So he did those, and then I have just been so lucky and so blessed to know so many talented people. Um, a friend of mine did the Too Many Poodles. She's also the one who is doing the You Can't Ride a Cat. She's the illustrator for that too. So Janine Payne does a great job, and I'm so lucky to work with her. And I think she won an award through the Society for Children's Book Illustrators and Writers. And when I heard that, I was like, "Come with me, please." I need you. And then Carrie, who did the Elsperville, the line drawing, she did like a fantastic job on all the illustrations, and they're just simple, but they're great. And I just happen to know her. She's a fabulous artist. And the only person that I did not know is this book, The Hot Air Balloon Ride. I did not know this person that illustrated, but they still did a fantastic job. So I've been really fortunate with my illustrators.
That's great.
Very good. Very good. We got time for maybe one more. Anybody? Okay. Well, Barbara, were you going to say something here?
I was just going to say thank you for joining us today, Melanie. This has been fun.
Yeah,
I'm
it's been
glad to hear
great.
all about your books. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much for being with us. It's been great. Book writing is hard work. Is it more fun doing children's books?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. You still can tackle the hard and scary concepts. My books cover things like bullying, and that can be hard, not only for a child, but I mean, we have this. Books cover things like. Uh-oh, it must have been feedback. But it still covers like the hard concepts, but children are up for anything. And so you can still talk about the hard concepts, but you can just really give them something that imaginative things that they can run with, and that's what I really enjoy, is like the imagination.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Let me let's move on. Let's give me Melanie a hand here, please. Sean. Okay, and my closing commentary for today, or as I see it, I want to first of all send a message out. If you're out there, Hina, I think it's Hina Harson or Hina Haran. Anyway, you sent me a message about your children's books. You can contact us at contact Sean, SHAWN, at bestgirl, bestgurl.com, or Emily at bestgirl.com, and we'll be back in touch with you, and we'd be happy to talk with you about your books. Again, as I see it today, here's some dates for you guys to hang on to. October 26th and October 27th, I, along with my good friend and actor Michael O'Neill, will present a theatrical production on the Auburn University campus titled Alabama Boys. The production will be held at the Goode Center for Performing Arts on the campus. Alabama Boys is the story of our growing up in Alabama and our eventual landing in Hollywood. The production will be fun, serious, and include many historical facts from the 1960s up until today. Alabama Boys, mark it on your calendar, October 26th and 27th. And that's how I see it on this July 26th in the year 2022. That's our show for today. I want to first of all thank all the people in the chat for your comments, for being with us, for showing up every week. We appreciate you very, very much. Thank the audience. Thank Michael and Barbara. Thank our G-list guest, Melanie J. Vogel. She was very interesting. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl Inc. thank Emily Hedrick, the communicator, Sean Jones, the organizer and producer of the show, Got a Minute? Remember to enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.